Hey guys, Buff from Game Bad today bringing you a video, and today we're going over DMZ weapon builds prior to the Season 2 wipe. So these will give you some good ideas of just some good weapons that I've had a lot of success with here in Season 1 to go ahead and try out here for at least one of your insured slots if you only have the one for Season 2. And if you have 2 or 3, you can bring a couple of these into DMZ on Wednesday with the launch of the new map. So go ahead and backing out here. Here is the first one. We're going to be running the MCX Rattlers. So let me go ahead and we will change this up. Just start with the base MCX here at first. Now this build is for close quarters, but a lot of firepower close quarters. So you see here, first off, we're going to run the barrel option. We're going to shorten this down to the 7-inch barrel. Going to give us the ADS speed, hip recoil control, movement speed, with the cons being damage range, bullet velocity, hip fire accuracy, and recoil control, which is fine because this is going to be a close quarters build. Mainly sniper support is what I use this for. So we'll go ahead and select that. Now for tuning, you just keep an eye on what I do here. I'm not going to go through every single bit, but I will show how I tune it. The muzzle we're actually going to leave blank there. Underbarrel, this is really personal preference. I've had a lot of success with the Op X9 foregrip here. Go ahead and select that. You can see the pros and cons. It's going to give us mainly the hip fire accuracy, aim walking steadiness, a little bit of recoil steadiness, but mainly this is just going to help us move a little bit quicker and have decent hip fire control and control for recoil overall. So we'll go ahead and select that, tune it to a little bit medium here for ADS speed and hip recoil control. Then we'll back out. Ammunition, we're actually going to leave this at blank, but you can obviously swap things in and out based on what you want. For the magazine option here, we're going to be running with the 60-round quad stack magazine of the 5.56x45 NATO. So we're going to double our magazine capacity from 30 to 60, which is definitely necessary since the rate of fire on the MCX is going to be right around 900 rounds per minute. So we'll go ahead and select that. And then for the stock option here, personal preference, you can definitely use the base stock and swap out other attachments. I personally really like this MCX stock here, the Bruin Flash V4 stock. This is going to give us the sprint to fire speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, aim down sight speed, con speed, aim and stability, and recoil control. So we'll go ahead and select that. And then for the optic, again, personal choice here, whichever one you want. I definitely recommend a 1 to 1.5 times optic. I'm going to run with the EOTech. Just the base EOTech, I seem to have a good luck with this one. Good, clean sight picture. And you're going to turn that to far. So here's our MCX Rattler. Really nice build again. This is mainly sniper support, I would say. It's going to give you the 60 rounds of a rifle round for close quarters SMG substitute. So you can see here, when we fire it, it's just going to, it's pretty accurate. And you pack 60 rounds, high rate of fire. So you just are going to definitely crush some operators with this. And if you were watching last night's live stream with this, you saw this thing in action, and it was just destroying operators. So within the 30 to even 50, you can see you can get away with their distance range is where this thing is going to be very, very effective and just shreds through players with that high rate of fire. So backing out. Next up, we'll go ahead and change this, and we're going to run with a battle rifle here. So this is going to be my Scar Heavy, the Mark 17 CQC build. So I'm going to change this up slightly here. What we're actually going to use is, we'll start with the Mud and Guts, because this is the blueprint. For some reason, it doesn't reset right with that saved one. So let's go ahead and we'll just strip all these attachments off. Now, first off, for the optic, any 1 to 1.5 times optic. Personally, for this one, for whatever reason, I just like the SZ Battle Optic. Seems to work well for me. Tune that out to far. Then for the laser option, we're going to run the Oli V laser. Give us that aim down sight speed, aim and stability, sprint to fire speed, and the laser will be visible only when ADSing. Going to leave the base barrel. However, I did try a build with a short 12-inch barrel, and that was also very, very effective. But you'll see what I end up swapping out for that. We'll leave that. For the muzzle device here, to control the recoil, the heavy kick on this, we're going to run the Tempest GH50, which is going to help only with that vertical recoil control, help keep it down a little bit. And the cons are the aim and stability and the aim down sight speed. And we're going to tune that for maximum recoil control and maximum gun kick control. Next up for the underbarrel here, I'm going to You can definitely run a bipod foregrip if you want. Obviously looks really nice, but I find with the pineapple grip, I get a little bit better recoil control and mobility for whatever reason. So also with this particular build, I'm not really needing to mount it at all with that bipod grip. So the pineapple grip works really well. You can see hip fire accuracy, hip recoil control, recoil steadiness, aim walking steadiness. Cons are the hip fire accuracy and or the hip walking speed, excuse me, and the aim down sight speed. And this is a good grip for the heavy caliber of the 7.62 by 51 millimeter, the SCAR 17 or the Mark 17 fire. So we'll go ahead and select that. We'll tune this just a little bit more towards ADS and a little bit towards hip recoil control. Skip out on the ammunition. And the fifth and final attachment we're going to run is the 50-round drum. So we're going to up our magazine capacity from 20 to 50 of that 7.62 by 51 millimeter. And then for the camouflage option here, we're going to go ahead and run with either of these sand ones I really like. So we'll go ahead and go with scales from the M4. This one looks really nice. Here's the final design for the Mark 17 CQC. Now, you can always take out the ADS, the all-EV laser for the 12-inch barrel. Also very, very effective. I think that also complements the weapon and works really, really well as well. However, I felt this one might be a little bit better, but if you want to improve your movement speed a little bit more, you can definitely swap out for that 12-inch barrel. So jumping into the firing range here, you can see with that Modern Guns blueprint, we have the laser on that top Picatinny rail, so it looks really nice. And you can see also we can tap fire in single, which is very accurate, or we can go full auto here and just let this thing rip. And because of the slow rate of fire around 600 rounds per minute, it's actually very easy to control, especially with the attachments that we have on this. So that's our Mark 17 CQC. Now, like I said, you can definitely swap out the laser for the 12-inch barrel. The only reason I'm not doing that is because it just looks really, really awesome with the laser on that top pick rail. So that's the only reason I did that. Otherwise, you can run it like this, tune that up to max recoil steadiness. And I have a little bit of a drift here on my stick on the bottom. That's why I did that. So you can see that's the 12-inch version. If we take this into the gunsmith, the ADS speed's pretty much the same. I think maybe your stability will be a little bit different, but overall, it's basically the same build, and you might save a little bit of the movement speed there. That's personal preference. This is still a really, really good build. So that's our Mark 17 CQC. Go ahead and back out now, and we will check out speaking of in the SCAR class, we'll go to the Mark 20. So let's go ahead, and it won't let me choose one for the same class for whatever reason. So sometimes it kind of, oh, that's why. So we will unequip that. And now we'll go with the Mark 20. So the Mark 20, this is going to be a really nice build. I was running this last night again on stream if you happen to watch it. And we will be running this optic here, the F-Tac Locus SP. It's going to let us toggle from 7 to 11.5 with a medium glint. So this is a really good option for this weapon. Doesn't look the best because I prefer like the big fat scopes on these things, but this one is probably the most feasible given what I have unlocked. And then for the barrel option, we're going to want the 20-inch barrel. It's going to give us damage at range, hip fire accuracy, bullet velocity. And we'll tune this for max recoil steadiness. You can also tune it up for damage at range, but you really don't need it. For the suppressor option here, going to run with the wrap suppressor, I feel is the better option just for the damage at range and the recoil control. Tune that up to max recoil smoothness. And then for the underbarrel, going to go ahead and run the bipod foregrip on this one. So we'll go ahead and select the bipod foregrip, or you could obviously run a bipod, but you get additional recoil steadiness here. So we'll run with the bipod foregrip, and again, tune this to a little bit more towards ADS speed and a little bit more towards hip recoil control. And then here we're going to run with the 20-round magazine. You can definitely get away with the 10, but I feel like the 20-rounder is a better option. And then for the camouflage here, we'll go ahead and toggle over to the clay to give us that classic SCAR type camouflage. And this is our Mark 20 SSR. Really good weapon here. Again, ran this on stream for a couple of you guys that requested it the other day, and it's pretty much a 2 to 3 hit down in DMZ. Obviously, if somebody has different plate, 10 of the plates for 3 plates, around 2 to 3 hits. Especially if you're running this with your teammates running snipers, all you got to do is get one hit, or they need to get one hit, and you're going to get those kills. And again, you can tap fire pretty quick, at least the first 2, to get 2 shots on target. If I hold my breath, obviously it's going to be a little bit more accurate, but you can 2-tap it pretty quick if you want. And with a bipod grip, you can mount that bipod, which is also just very effective. Typically, I was hitting 1 to 2 shots, along with my teammates hitting them, and we were getting the downs. It was actually crazy how effective this was. I was pleasantly surprised. I hadn't really used it too much in DMZ prior, but this build right here worked really, really well. And obviously with the bipod grip, not only do you get the vertical grip, but you are able to, if we ADS, you're able to mount. So then you really don't need to worry about holding your breath as much for moving targets and things like that. So you can mount it, lay down, mount it on walls, and pretty good. So this is our Mark 20 SSR, firing the 6.5 Creedmoor, which fires here in game. You can definitely swap out some of those attachments if you want high velocity or something like that too, instead of the magazine. But I feel that's a really good option there. The only other thing you could do, I would definitely recommend keeping the 20-inch barrel. So if you're going to run high velocity, I would say get rid of the bipod grip or the magazine and run high velocity on there. But that's our Mark 20 SSR. Next up, go ahead and change this out. This is an odd weapon, so we're going to run 2 more here quickly. The G3. G3 has been a really tough one for me to find the right build. So this one's been difficult. There's been a couple builds that I played with a little bit on stream, especially last night. We're going to run the recoil stock because this thing needs about as much help as you can get it with the recoil. Optic. Any 1x optic on here I think is going to do well. So we'll just run an EOTech. Skip the laser. For the barrel option, we're going to run the shortest, or the 10.6-inch heavy barrel. This is the heaviest barrel, give us max recoil control. And we're going to tune that up to the max. And then for the muzzle, again, we really can't run this suppressed. We need something for the kick that this thing has. So we're going to run that same Tempest GH50 that we ran with the Scar and tune it for max recoil control. And then for the underbarrel attachment, again, we're going to run the Pineapple, or the Op X9 also worked really, really well. So we'll go ahead and select that, tune it a little bit more towards ADS and hip recoil control right in there. This is a really good design, I feel. This is one that worked pretty well and was kind of a pleasant surprise for me. You can also swap out the stock for the 30 or the 50 round magazine, or you could ditch it for the base barrel and a magazine. But this one works pretty good. You can definitely get away with it for sniper support. Obviously, you can tap fire at the longer ranges with the single fire. And then for these close quarters, when you do it in close quarters, you have 20 rounds. And remember, this thing hits really hard. So all you got to do is just like let it rip. And 20 rounds doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually is pretty effective. And the movement speed on this isn't too bad. And you just got to get someone in your line of sight within the 20 to 20 meters like that. And it's going to hit pretty hard. But I also found it very effective just in single fire. Even in PvP, it seems to do a little bit more damage on the players there. So you can see, just let it rip, and then right there, close quarters. So that's our H&K G3. I guess you could kind of call this a CQC build. Trying to find the most efficient G3 build to use, and this is kind of one of the ones I came up with. So we'll cover different ones in the future, but this one definitely a pretty viable option, I would say, for DMZ. It's gonna crush through the bots, and you can definitely get away with it in PvP. I had quite a few kills with it the other day as well. The only other option here I would say is you can get rid of the stock for a 30 or even a 50 round magazine if you really want to let it rip, or you can get rid of this barrel, run the base barrel, and you can put something like a high velocity or even a Ollie V on there, and this one would work pretty well also. If we take that in the gunsmith, you can see this build, but I'll probably run more gameplay with these in the future to show you guys. This one works pretty well, but not quite as mobile, obviously, because we're running that 50 round magazine. But having the extra ammo is definitely nice to have for these engagements where you get into trouble. However, you can see the recoil control on this is a lot more difficult given the attachments that I swapped out for. It's going to kick high into the right, so you really just got to kind of control that, and it's definitely hard at these longer range. So I really feel this thing's most effective in a close quarters engagements, and with that heavy barrel, you can still tap fire for longer range. So that's the H&K G3. Now, a really good sniper build here that definitely not up my alley. Something I kind of stumbled upon and actually really fell in love with. Go with the Signal 50. This is a really weird build. Not super tactical, but extremely effective, and I've had just some insane snipes with this. And this will be the last weapon we cover for this part. So we're going to be running the same optic here that we ran with the Mark 20, the Locust SP. Get the same 7 to 11.5. We'll tune that out. Then we're going to run the barrel. We're going to run the TV Kilo 50 to 29 inch. Give us max recoil and damage at range. And we're going to tune that up to recoil steadiness. Then for the muzzle, we're going to run either of these, I think there's two that are relatively close. So you have the Bruin Counter Ops is good, and then you also have this first one is pretty good as well. But you really want to look at damage, or range, I should say. So you can see both of them are pretty equal. This Counter Ops is going to give us the best, so we'll tune that up to smoothness. And ignore this bottom one. I just have a drift on the stick. The underbarrel, oddly enough, we're going to run the FTAC Ripper. Just really help with the aiming stability. And then ammunition, we're going to run that high velocity. And that'll be the final design here. Go ahead and put this in the gunsmith. And you can see, you can zoom. That's 7 times. Really effective. And you can zoom into the 11.5. And just getting follow-up shots on this is pretty easy, honestly. Just a lot of 2-shot kills on enemies with plates with the follow-up shots. Very effective, and having the 5 rounds of semi-automatic for a 50 BMG works extremely well. So definitely give this thing a try. I've had a lot of crazy PvP games with this where we're just sniping like crazy. So go ahead and give that a go. Definitely you can also put on the Raptor sight with the rangefinder, but this one here works very effectively and is just a savage build for PvP in DMZ. So all those right there. Let me know your favorite one down below. Personally, I'm really liking the Rattler and this Scar, or the Mark 17 CQC build. Let me know your thoughts down below. Definitely give these a try when DMZ starts in Season 2 this coming week on Wednesday. And we'll be covering all that here on the channel. But definitely, I think these are good options for the new map to try out if you haven't used weapons similar like this before for your insurance slots. Till next time, this is Buffner Gaming with DMZ Weapons. Till next time, Buffner Gaming, out.